Fun fact, if you get all the way to the end of the game and save it and then load that game, instead of loading it like a normal map, it loads with the end screen on top of the normal map. So I have all these graphs, but they're a little hard to read without the background behind them that's usually brown and stuff. But this is it. I actually went all the way to 1936. I thought I was going to quit in 1919, but the just one more turn got to me. Just one more week. Just let me see a little bit more. Just a little bit, and then and I got into it. Oh, did I get into it? So let's take a look at how I got to all these. And this, by the way, goes from January 1836 to December 31st, 1935. There was a bit of a time up here. I was at 1.7 billion GDP. It slid to 1.6. I did a little tweaking on my industry at the last minute just because I was having fun. But anyway, we have that standard of living went from yuck to prestige went from who are you again to oh dang, you be Mexico. Hi. Population went from nobody's here to wow. Y'all second place. China's the only one that has more people than y'all. And when China explodes, we'll be the biggest. Woo! Yeah, this is looking really good because we have aggressive assimilation turned on. We don't got anybody who ain't Catholic. just because it doesn't really have an impact on the game. I mean, or if it does, whatever. I'm cool with that. Mexican is 62% of the population. Sorry, 62% of the political strength, 57% of the population. And machinists, capitalists, and engineers, they are kind of running things in this country here. Interesting. We don't have a complete domination by the workers, but we also don't have a complete domination by the wealthy. So let me go ahead and hit continue playing here. And click on a country to select it, the one I was working on, Mexico. Engage. Okay, so let me go through here. I have some notes here that I'll be referring to, and while I'm referring to the notes, we could take a look at wow. This is the world in 1936, and it is. I tell you what, this is ready for an export into Hoi 4. Except I don't play Hoi 4, so oh well. But yeah, this is something else here because number one with this is that you won't have to go through the drudgery of conquering all of Latin America because I've already done that. You would have to go through the drudgery of conquering China or Russia, but hey, baby steps here. All right, in 1836, the population of Mexico was 3.3 million. It is now, the GDP. GDP was 3.3 million. Population was 6.96 million. So per capita GDP was 0.47. Okay, in this world here, we have 1.6 billion. So that means we've increased GDP by 1.6 billion, basically. The GDP of Mexico is now so large that what it was 100 years ago is an insignificant place of digits there. We're not going to go that far out. What's the point there? We got a 1.64, and then the 3 million that would have been there is like less than the 4 here because that's 640 million. Anyway. And our GDP per capita is 7.75. We are number 3 on that list. And come back here. What was that list? Republic of Nicaragua and the Duchy of Costa Rica are the 2 that are ahead of Mexico. Tiny countries. Again, it's very easy for a tiny country to get a big GDP per capita. When you have a population of 211 million and you get a number like that, bingo. That's good stuff there. All the other participants in the top 10 are either puppets of mine or protectorates, whatever, or they are nations that have producing like a lot of rubber or oil, and they have a very small population. So there you go. There we have taken that by storm. Let's see here. For literacy, Mexico is at 85.2%. 100 years ago, it was at 20.2%. And when we look at overall, we're number 9, where we somehow Persia came ahead of us, but that's not the Persia that started the game there. A lot of small countries are at the top there. United Kingdom comes close. They're 85.1. Sorry. Y'all lost by 0.1 point. I do want to take a look at the map itself. Here we go. Let's go to literacy. And let me just sort by literacy. Yeah, I've got, you see here, Sinaloa. Skip over the Mosquito Kingdom and its proletarian revolt. They're having a little thing going on there. But Sinaloa, Jalisco, Mexico, Oaxaca, Chiapas, Guerrero, Chihuahua are all the top literacy provinces in the world. The world. Dana Carvey reference if you old-time Saturday Night Live fan. Anyway, yeah. And the province of Mexico itself is in the millions. This is a really, really big accomplishment here. And just looking at Texas at 88.2 and California 88.1%, those are my two highest population states. In fact, I'd like to show that off as well. Let's sort by population. Texas is the number 1 population in the world. As a citizen of the state of Texas, I'm so stoked. It's like, yeah, we should have stayed with Mexico. Look what happens, man. What? We are the biggest. Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas. Woohoo! I like that for all the wrong reasons, I guess, but I do like it. Coming out, the rest of the top 10 there, we've got 4 in China, 1 in India, and then California turns up. Texas and California are 2 of the biggest population states in the world, and India and China are looking at them going like, wow, what are y'all doing over there? Because, dang, that's a lot of people. The largest European population is Brittany at 16.8 million. That's like a little bit more than half of what we have in Texas. Then we come down to Normandy, Pomerania, Brandenburg. Okay. Okay. So I don't have a lot of other Mexican states that turn up in here, but dang. Well, there's Veracruz there. But dang, we got stuff going on in Texas and California. I tell you what. It's pretty cool. I like that. Okay. Standard of living in Mexico in 1836 was 9.3 overall. Now it is 22.0. The number 1 in the world is the Socialist Republic of New England. And you can tell by their color on the map that they're a dominion of Mexico. Could be a puppet. Who's counting? It's 1936. We don't need to play it anymore. But yeah, they're on our side. Yeah. And then behind us, Federation of the Americas. Whoops, get out of there. That is another client state that's down there where Peru, Bolivia used to be. Now they're Federation of the Americas. Ecuador, all right, that's Mexican. Finland is Russian. Socialist Republic of Canada. Guilty. Yeah, I did that. Oriental Republic of Uruguay. That is another one of my protectorates. Romania. I just have a trade deal with them. Kingdom of the West Indies. Yeah, I pried them away from the British. Yes. And Republic of Italy. Not mine. All told, 22.0 for a standard of living for the nation with the second largest population in the game. I'm feeling very stoked. Again, I agree. I've got mods, but the mods are there for the benefit of all participants. They help the player and the AI alike. And I was able to leverage things as Mexico. You may remember from the last episode, I didn't have nearly as many United States of Mexico. Some of them were United States of America. I worked on that, and I'll go into what happens there. But this is after the victory lap here. Population, yes, population was almost 7 million in 1836. Now it's 211 million. and we are ahead of the British Raj, French Empire, Russian Empire. We're more than halfway to where Great Qing is. At the rate of immigration, we could bring in a lot more people to Mexico. Wouldn't say no. But I never got multiculturalism, and I never got border controls totally opened up. Imagine what things would happen how things would be if we had that. As it is, look at the radicals and loyalists. We've done so well with the economy. Nobody wants to revolt. Yeah, the industrialists hate me. They have like what the net over there. They have -16 all the way on that side. So what? They're only 14% of the political strength. 31% of the political strength are the trade unions. And that brings me to my next area here of what I consider to be my economic victory, because dang, Mexico didn't start with much at all. Let's click on the population tab. Okay, now just above me, you can see where the lower strata are 139 million of my population, and their income is 10.3. Middle strata are 67 million, 27.6. Upper strata, 4.5 million, and their income is 460.6. Okay, so the rich do be very rich. Even for our country is pretty dang socialistic in terms of tax structure and all, but it isn't entirely so. Which makes me think, all the arguments that have been made against giving benefits to workers, like weekends or limiting hours in a day or increasing minimum wage. These are things that we can handle them. The people with lots and lots and lots of money can deal with a little bit less. They don't need all that. They could share it out with people who do need some of that right here. Now, but this is the percentages though are very interesting, because the upper strata percentage of 4.5 is roughly 2% of the population. And that is what it was back in 1836. The difference is in 1836, the lower strata was 92% of the population, and the middle group was 6%. We've totally changed that over. Right now, the lower strata is, let me go to my notes on that. I got to scroll down. They're 66% of the population, and the middle group is 32%. That's something else. And the ratio between their incomes has remained, well, actually, it's a little bit less, because it was like triple the income from between middle strata and lower strata in 1836. But in 1936, the middle strata are 2.7 that of the lower strata. And when you look at the lower strata, they went from 4.3 at the start. Now they're 10.3. And the middle group was from 12.0 up to 27.6. Huge improvements. Yeah. The rich went from 34.3 to 460. Again, I don't want to hear them complaining. They're doing very well. The rising tide lifted their boat more so than it did others. But for getting over a third of the population, or just, into the middle strata, I think that's a great deal. Let me make absolutely sure. Oh, darn, we're scrolling again. Oh, well. Yeah, well, almost a third. 32%. Okay. So, yes, that is what has happened between 1836 and 1936. Huge gains in terms of economy. And again, I have the same map that the AI does. I just guess I made better use of my time here. Well, let's walk through the history. So in 1919 or so, where we left off, even then I wasn't doing so good. The GDP was less than half of what it is here. So from 1919 to 1936, 27 years, right? No, 17 years. 17 years, our GDP went, we basically added $1 billion on GDP. Literacy, we added 5% more. Standard of living, we added 3 more. Population, we went from 139 to 211, so 60, about 70 million more people. Okay. So how do we do that? Well, in 1919, I was looking around going, I don't know if I want to really fight a war with the USA just to get more stuff. And then, uh, well, a funny thing happened. The uh, the USA was a few years later. The USA was looking kind of vulnerable because Britain was very busy fighting a war somewhere else. So I thought, okay, I'll start a play, and I asked for one thing: Dixieland. Now, I'd already gotten the new Africa. Dixieland was basically the rest of the old Confederacy, from Missouri on over to Virginia, Delaware, District of Columbia, uh, Maryland. Got some Tennessee and Carolinas in there too. A fair number of states. And I asked for that, and the USA caved in. They just gave it right away. No diplomatic play started. I said, okay, that's cool. I'm taking it. So without a shot being fired, I acquired, well, when again, that was Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, regular Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Technically 11 states, even though some of those are really tiny ones. But I got them. Then after that, I said, okay, hey, Spain, guess what? Give me Cuba. And Spain said, oh, yeah, you in what army? And then I started mobilizing. And they went, oh, that army. Okay, here, take Cuba. Again, not a shot being fired. I took Cuba. So this went well. In 1922, Germany was having a war there was a rebellion in China, and I thought, should I support them? And actually, I did. I got a protectorate, and I was able to conquer China, and then I had a protectorate over China. I thought, oh man, it's so awesome. And then the whole thing exploded. Like, oh great, I got just Beijing, and then all these other states are flying around. Like, yeah, forget about it. So I reloaded and said, no, we will say no to wars of expansion. We got our stuff without a shot being fired. Ha ha ha. So we were sneaky. Then, in November 1923, a war started between the UK and France over Niger. And I decided to stay out of that war, and I watched the French GDP fall. Let's take a look at what that is. Click on the France and look at their GDP, and you can see right around here. This is the spot where they had their first war. They'd gotten all the way up to 1.1 billion, and I was like at right around 900 something million, and this war started. They cratered down. Looks like around 700 or so million, and then that's when Mexico crossed over, or started its crossover. It got up to 879 million that particular year there. In 1924, France, Austria, and Italy were fighting a war with the United Kingdom, USA, and Germany. And bam, that all happened there. It should have been a great war. And I've mentioned in some other videos how we really need a great war mechanic to really spice up the later game. I was having a lot of fun. Now, it was playing slow. It would make terrible television. It's even slower than me talking here. But it was in between the turn going ka-chunk, chunk, chunk, chunk. I could keep up on email and do a server rebuild and answer things on Discord. So it wasn't boring, but it was still slow. But I was still excited about what's going on. Having a great war at that time period, even if it's going really slow, just adds to that excitement by being able to increase the stakes. It's like it's like making a gambling addict out of somebody. Like, oh boy, just one more war goal, double or nothing. That would have been great. Okay, so in 1925, it was time to shake down the USA again. And this is where I got the rest of this stuff here. The Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and slicing out the People's Republic of New England, whatever. Anyway, USA was still a major power. Not a great power, but a major power. I wanted to make it a minor power. So I started a play in 1925, and then I joined in with a British war that was going on. It was kind of a tooth and nail thing, so I felt like I'm not cheesing a system, but I was basically telling Britain, hey, I'm going to be on your side, and then, hey, America, I'm going to fight you, and then America could not use its alliance with England because I was allied with England to support them against a terrible foe that they had. That was like putting a massive rebellion somewhere. Anyway, so it's just me against the Americans. I demanded, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, Kansas. Oh, yeah, that's right, the whole Midwest here, so that way it would line up nicely. Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and the liberation of New England. My infamy went to 94, thanks to a mod that was the high end of the bad, high end of bad, but not quite, oh my gosh, horrible. It wasn't like everybody's canceling on me. It was just like, wow, you need to slow your roll, bro. I did. I only got to 94 infamy. And the leader I had put a malice on reducing infamy, so it took forever for that to come down. But yes, I took those areas over. My standard of living and per capita GDP dropped after adding those U.S. areas because they were economically backward. I was just sorry, man. Just sorry. Then in 1927, there was a brief war with Spain. Somehow Peru, Bolivia, they had been part of my economy. They were members of my customs union. Then they drifted out and went to Spain's. Then there was a revolt. I supported that revolt. Had a war with Spain, and Spain lost, and I was able to make these guys my client here. Then in 1928, France went to war with China so they could pick up little tiny things down here, like with Lanfang, and Germany got involved in that. Italy joined with France, Spain joined Germany, and again, the GDP for France went down. That would be this second one here. Or no, wait. Yeah, that would be right here. There's one more where they, and that's spoiler alert. there's another war coming up for France, but right around here is where they took that dip. And then in November 1928, the Paris Commune emerged. I went ahead and supported it. Why not? But France wound up winning that war, and that's where they got the Rhineland here. So good job, France. You picked that up. And that got me up to 1930. This had taken, from 1919 to 1930, had taken hours of time to get through, but I was still enjoying it. Then 1930, my GDP is 1.37 billion. Yes, I've got my notes here still. And my standard of living was at 20.3, and I was number 2 overall because Uruguay was at 20.4. And the population was 197 million. Now, that's after bringing in some rather high population states in the USA. These plain states each had about, as you can see up there, 4, 5, almost 4.5. Ohio was 6. Pennsylvania 8. New York 5. So yeah, I brought in a lot of population, but it also brought in when I conquered D.C., I got the White House, which gives a bonus to migration. New York City has Statue of Liberty, which gives a further bonus to migration. Both of those now working for me meant I was recruiting, but I was certainly receiving immigrants the way the USA normally does. And in fact, on a Facebook Victoria 3 group, somebody posted a run of what they did as the USA, where they basically took over as much of the Western Hemisphere as I did as Mexico. And their population and GDP and standard of living were very close to what mine were. Like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. It's like, if you have those things and you own the area of the United States, you're you're going to do all right. The Mexico part doesn't seem as consequential, but well, the USA part is. Of course, if I take a look at my cultures, let's just take a look there. Yeah, you can see it's predominantly Mexican. Yeah, we made it. We made it happen here in Out West. I'm looking forward to 1.7 where we actually get to see uh, the secondary cultures come in there. And wow, we even got dominant Mexican here in Venezuela. So hey, all right, go us. Anyway, um, so yeah, 1930. I had it there. Started the game up again after I got to sleep and started it up in the morning. Thought I'll just let it play and I'll take care of some things. And I had to come back to it because it's like, oh wow, that's why this is after. Like I started it and like, oh gee, I have to work. Okay, save game. And then like when I was left, well, it's a little, I could leave about 5, 10, 15, about 25 minutes early, whatever. Anyway, I worked through lunch so I could get to this, and then now I finished it. Yes, I have. I finished it. And it took me more hours I think another 4 hours to get from 1930 to 1936. Well worth it. Entertainment joyride. Because what happened was in 1930, what got me going, this is what started the day, France made a move for Cape Colony versus the United Kingdom. And then it just piled on, tons more asks. And the United Kingdom responded with a bunch of asks of its own, and they're bringing in war partners and getting things all messy. And I'm going, oh my. France and England are the two biggest powers behind the USA. Let them just clash their heads together. And I thought, I'll just stay back, watch their GDP drop, and reap all the benefits, do a little economic management, whatever. But in 1932, they're still at war. They've been doing this for 2 years. And I've been like, wow, that's a really slow game there, I guess, because late game war. And I was able to pass graduated taxation during that time, and I avoided a civil war because one of the things came up where I could reveal the list of members for the group that was going against me, and that cut their power by 25%. And they went from being strong enough to support a civil war to strong enough to just be really annoying and politically, but not actually armed. And because of that, they weakened. The bill passed, and we got the graduated tax, which actually taxed the upper classes more. When you saw that population chart here, prior to that tax, when we take a look at the taxation here, 10% from the lower strata, and 11% on the middle, and 12% on the upper class. Before I did the taxation move, it was actually the tax burden was primarily on the middle class, and the upper class was least of all, and the poorer classes were paying a big chunk because when you have proportional tax, it's keeping it more as just, hey, this is a percent of your income, and then a little bit more. They're paying the middle class was paying a little bit more because of the tariffs I had set up and the other taxes I had going on various goods. So by changing my tax structure, now I've got it where the wealthy are paying a higher percentage of their income as taxes, but it's no big deal, guys. Honestly, 12% of $1 million is a lot easier to pay than 12% of $10,000. And you're having two completely different standards of living. It's much easier to pay that percentage at a higher income because there's just so much more of it. You are paying a larger dollar total, but it is easier to do. It truly is. I'm not going to argue about that. The math is there. Anyway, but 1932, I passed the law, and France and England are still at war, and then there was the Métis rebellion here started, and I thought, okay, it's just two provinces. I don't want to do that. But then shortly after that, the Socialist Republic of Canada started a rebellion, and they wanted to get all of Canada. And I thought, yes, I'm involved in that. I backed them. And that put me in war with England, which was already at war with France. Okay. Then in 1933, Brazil had a rebellion there, and I supported the socialist side in Brazil. Went to war with Spain over that. And then also in 1933, the West Indies here broke away from England. I backed them. I was already at war because of Canada. So I've got these wars going on. I'm able to actually win the war with Spain. They were the first to peace out because they're smaller. And then after that, I was able to win the war with England. And France stalemated with them. Now, this is a very important thing, because this now tells me that not only does Mexico have the strongest power in the world, not only does it have next to undisputed hegemony over the Western Hemisphere, it is also able to decisively defeat the British Empire, which had the second strongest military in the world. The French, with their allies, could not do it. The Mexicans did. And we were able to do it because we couldn't invade the British Islands. They put all their troops there. But we were able to pick off Australia and India. After I successfully invaded India, I knew that's it for the British. And in fact, if I go to the market map here, all right, the wars have been over for some time now. But you can see, in fact, they ended in October of 1935 was when they ended. And that's part of the excitement, because I've got these wars. I want to make this big green thing here. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's getting close, it's getting close, it's getting close. And then October, yes! Yes, they peaced out. Whoa! Save that game just in case. But the Mexican Navy had devastated British commerce. I'm seeing weeks where thousands of British ships are just being sent to the bottom. Now, they damaged my commerce as well, but I've recovered. You can see nice, strong green for the Mexican market. Where the British are, the British Isles themselves are doing okay, but the rest of their empire, the rest of their market, Chile, South Africa, India, Australia, very pale. They're not able to reconnect. And this is where I think that the world would definitely change in ways that Victoria 3 can't do right now, but it would happen. Number one, Russia, because of France's weakening, can we take a look at get off the markets, and yes, let's sort by overall power here. So, although Russia is ranked number 6 overall, its prestige is 10,000. It should be a great power. I believe coming out of this, because France proved weakness, Russia would break out of its customs union, and then this French territory here in China and in Persia, and possibly also Asia Minor, would quickly fall under the Russian rule. France is in a bit of a retreat right now. The Russian GDP is 750 million. Its population is pretty strong, and it has not been weakened by a series of wars. Remember how we saw the GDP for France going up and then dip. It's going to happen again. Britain, the Mexican army overran India and Australia. Australia might stick around for it. India definitely not. This is right at the beginning of the Quit India movement, because remember, Britain had that in World War I. Britain promised India that it would make it a dominion following the war, and it did not do that. And so that's why the Indian National Congress pushed for full independence. In World War II, when Japan conquered much of Asia, defeating European armies, it proved, hey, these guys aren't invincible. They don't have, even though many of them claimed that Europeans were superior for various spurious reasons, World War II showed no, they're just as human as everybody else. There is no superiority inherent in being European. So, that helped the Indians split away. Well, in this case, if the army of Mexico overruns India, that sends a strong message to India. We don't we don't need these guys, and the Quit India movement would go into full overdrive at this point. I believe that if I was to unpause and this game was historically accurate, the Russians would break out of the French customs union. The Indians would just break with England, say we could do this the easy way or the hard way, and we're just going to do it because it's going to happen. China would likely also be broken away from Germany because it's just the German market just isn't that strong. And I think China is ready to just completely implode or explode or just plode in general. Uh, it's the same way like Japan looks like a little patchwork here. China is going to become one as well. Africa is going to have additional upheaval. Cape Colony has already gone through a number of rebellions. It's going to continue to go through here because, again, Europeans were shown to be nothing special as the Mexicans rolled over them, and as Mexico is itself the leading superpower of the world, the dominant economy, dominant military, dominant position in the Western Hemisphere. Next on the menu is going to be the United States. If I look at the interactions, uh, oh darn it, did they go major power again? Darn it, they're a major power again. Well, okay, so I can't make them a protectorate, but if I didn't have the infamy problem, then yes, roll over them. And if the British want to come at me, bring it, because we could then take British Guatemala, the Mosquito Kingdom. Who's got Costa Rica? Oh, that's German market. We'll come back for that. Guyana and the Indies out here in Newfoundland. And Las Islas Malvinas. We'll get those. If Britain was to support the USA, Mexico would take all that territory there. Continue kicking Spain out because they tried to impose their crown again. We'll just knock them completely out of the hemisphere monetary. And I think the other part would be the rest of the hemisphere would have to be made protectorates, dominions, or puppets, or just absorbed into the Mexican nation, simply because that's the way to keep them out of other people's hands prior to the 1.6 release. Germany is about to lose Egypt. They don't have enough capability to get down that way, and that's why I think they would also lose China. Great game. I would love to play it again. And I've got a new mod that actually adds more benefits to Mexico. I might take a peek at it. It's all of the major nations of Latin America. I'll take a peek at it. But yeah, I went all the way to the end with this, and I thought I was going to quit in 1919. But as slow as the game was, there was fun to be had. Even though there was no great war, there was fun to be had. And I hope you have fun. I hope you get enjoyment out of your game, and that everything goes your way. And yeah, and definitely take hold of New York and Washington. That's going to help your nation with a lot of a lot of immigration there. But yeah, that was a real treat. Taking Mexico as far as I did, not just get them to where they were respectable, but they are now a hegemonic power in the world. Yes, I had a Cristero revolt. It did tech. Was it a revolution? Wasn't it a revolution? Yeah, it was. But and I didn't want to have any wars, and at the end I wound up fighting a couple of, well, more than a couple, but several wars. But they were deliberate. They were deliberate wars of liberation, not conquest. Although I kind of made them my puppets and stuff. So liberation, and it was a revolt, not a revolution. But yes, I was able to hold off of a lot of fighting for as long as I could, and I didn't go conquering as much as I could have done throughout the game. And even so, by just primarily focusing on technology and civil rights and industry, I got Mexico to the number one position in the game in Victoria 3, and I'm so happy with that. All right, guys, Thanks for being with me. Like, comment, and subscribe as always. Share it out on any other link you want to share it out on. It's fine. I'd love to have more people look at this over. And I got a couple weeks between now and when 1.7 releases. I might make some tutorial videos. I could do that Mao Zedong run. I could get cut off in the middle of a sentence.